of his 40s, and a little kid, like maybe 5 years old or something. And they came in fighting. And the little boy are kicking his father and trying to run away. And the father is pulling the kid and shouting. And imagine you just like someone is coming into your office with such a thing. And imagine the request that this man asked me. Sayyidina, would you please pray for that kid? And I said, why? He doesn't want to eat. What? The kid doesn't want to eat. He stopped eating. And the fight between the two is simply because the kid doesn't want to eat. And I said, well, I could just like pray and just go in peace. But I didn't like that, actually. I just want to know what is happening, why the kid doesn't want to eat. And what I did, I just took the kid on my lap, and I hugged him, and I started to caress him. And as soon as I started to caress this little boy, you know, when you just was crying and fighting something, and then suddenly someone is giving you a shelter or something, a kindness, you start, you're like, and he just put his head on my shoulder. And I felt like so comfortable that the kid finally stopped fighting back. And as soon as he calmed down, I told him, I whispered in his ear in a very funny way. I'm so sorry for using this word. It's a very funny way. I said to him, you know, I bring you a sandwich now. And if you eat that sandwich, you will be as big as your dad. The little boy looked at me and said, are you sure? Is it a very special one? And I said, yes, it has very beautiful things in it. And the power that's in there, it will just make you grow. Unfortunately, the kid believes me. He inhaled the sandwich. And the father looked at me and I said, wow, I never imagined that this is happening. It's a miracle. Few minutes later, the kid started to look at himself and look at me and look at his father. And he said, you lied to me. And this is the moment I realized, oh, it's very hard to believe that the word was having such an impact on this little kid. And then, of course, I talked him out of that, and every day we take a sandwich, we make it. But then when the kid left, I started to ask myself why the kid didn't want to eat, first of all. And that question, unfortunately, after all these years, I could not answer to myself. And it stayed in me a big question mark. Why the kid didn't want to eat, first of all. And why all of us sometimes behaved like this kid. And sometimes we believe illusions. And sometimes we don't see reality in our lives. And this is exactly what I felt like here is our life in general. We have things, we know it's there, but then we reject it. We know that there is a grace for all of us, but then we don't believe it. And what we believe sometimes is something that we want to believe because there is a reason behind. And every one of us has different reasons. And if we go back to the source of evil, or the essence of evil, where it started, And we found ourselves like facing something that we all sometimes are facing. Let's go back to the first evil thought that came to human being. And it's not when Adam and Eve ate from the forbidden tree. It's just before it. And here, to understand the whole story, when God created human beings, He gave them the most beautiful nature and the most amazing gift. God created human being according to His image and wanted them to be His likeness. And He empowered them with authority, dominion over everything. So imagine what you really have. It's the image of God. It's a mission to be His image, His likeness, and authority, dominion over everything. Just keep this in mind. And then God wanted to please them and put them in a very beautiful paradise. Of course, everybody is searching for the beautiful paradise. But at that moment, here comes the illusions that sometimes we fall in. You may call it, as it's written in the biblical text, the serpent, or you can call it illusions, you could call it evil ideas, whatever kind of names, but it's the serpent that came and start to talk. And the message is normal in the beginning, because every illusion, every deception that happens to a human being starts with something very good, very normal. Is it true that God forbidding you to eat from every tree, all the trees? You're not allowed to eat from all the trees? Everything? No. He gave us to eat from everything except one tree. Till now, everything is okay. The answer here, because He knows that once you eat from that, you will be like God, knowing good and evil, then you will be like Him. Listen to the words. In the beginning, God created human being like Him, in His image. On the likeness of God, He created them. And then the illusion is coming to you and tell, you will not die, but you will become like Him. Can you see the illusion here? You have it. The first thing that happens to us in the illusions, in the deception, that what you have, what you really have in your own being, you start to search for, because you think that I don't have. And once you start thinking that I don't have it, so I search for it, and you search for it where you should not. And this is exactly what happens. Then the grace of God that is already yours, you forget it, you don't have it, you don't see the goodness in you, you don't see the beauty in you, you don't see the value of your humanity, and then you start to search for something to bring you that value. And here is exactly what happens. This is the start of the evil. And in your mind, in your own inner being, when you start to think like that, then you will start to search far away from you, far away from what you have, and maybe you start to ask to get what you already have, but you are blinded, you will not see it. And that's why it's very strange that people in their own personal life, They found themselves that they rejected the grace, the well-being that they have. They reject it, and they start to search for something else, and this is what they fall in. And now God is looking at us and say, what is this? In the book of Jeremiah, he's looking at us and was, can a nation change its God, even though they are not gods, and change it? He just put a question, and then he would continue and say, can someone exchange the glory with something that gave no benefits? It's very strange when someone would exchange a glory with something that has no benefits. And then he would just say it, my people did two evils. What are the two evils? They looked away from me. They forsaken me, the spring of water, the living water. They didn't look at me. They forsaken me. And then what they did, they went and they haven for themselves cisterns that hold no water. And imagine this illusion that you have the spring of water that is flooding all the time, giving you all the grace, and then you leave it, and then you search for something that holds no water. And you serve, and you work hard, and you dig, and you have all this hardship to get it, and you don't get it. This is exactly what we do in life. This is exactly what this little boy did. There is something, but I don't blame him, even though I understand that this is wrong. But I don't blame this little boy. Maybe something wrong went how we present this little sandwich that he's supposed to eat. Maybe something wrong is there how you receive the grace of God for you. What is your perception about the love of God in your life? What is your understanding of your own personal value? What is it that makes you, as a human being, with all the glory of God in you, looking away and start to search for something else? What is that reason that makes you, as a human being, will forsake the living water and start to search for cisterns that have no water? It's when you look at it from a logical point of view, it doesn't make sense. But still, the people are doing it, even though it doesn't make sense. As we read in the biblical text, going into the history of humanity, trying for me personally to understand that little kid, why he didn't want, first of all, to eat from that sandwich, I start to search a little bit in the biblical text. And then I found the same thing happened with the people of Israel. The people of Israel, God has made for them a great thing. He has chosen them among all those nations. And he talked to Moses and said, I have seen them. I have seen their pain. Come, I'll send you to save them, to liberate them. And then here, it's a beautiful story with the grace of God that Moses went to Egypt, 10 plagues against the Egyptians, the pharaohs, and then he took them like on the wings of eagles, passed through the water of the Red Sea, crossed the Red Sea in a miraculous way, and the people saw that. Imagine if you were one of them and you've seen that the water would stand like a wall and you go through it. It's an amazing thing. And then you go there and you find yourself in the wilderness, nothing is there, And then God will tell you, don't worry, I'll take care of you. I love you, and I will take care of you. I will send you the manna from heaven, so you will not be hungry. I will feed you in the wilderness. I will give you to drink from the rock. Nothing will come closer to you. Serpents and scorpions will never come and touch you. You will be protected. I will create for you a very beautiful pillar of fire, so you will not feel lonely in the darkness of the night. Or I will overshadow you with a cloud, so you will not hurt by the sun. I'll be there with you. I will show you my glory. I see you. I take you. You are my child. And imagine the beauty then. What kind of grace, what kind of glory, what kind of beauty, what kind of comfort, what kind of everything. And now is the same story repeated again. God put us in a paradise, eat from everything except that one tree. The people of Israel, I made for you everything, but you will eat the manna. Oh, and imagine suddenly one day, Moses was sitting in a very quiet way, and suddenly 5,000 men. Imagine 5,000 men. 5,000 angry men are coming to him, shouting at him, we are sick and tired of that food, this dry food. What's the dry food you're talking about? The manna. We are sick and tired of that. We want to eat meat. Imagine if you were Moses. What would you do then? I feel sometimes very much pity to Moses at that time, but I said, no, wait a minute, I do the same, like those angry men. I'm sorry, I did the same again and again and again, many times in my life. And I said that, what can I do? If I were Moses, I will do like him. I cry, and I go to God, and I said, did I just brought them and forgot, I've forsaken them? It's yours. And then God here is telling Moses, look, I will tell you something. They asked for meat in the wilderness. It's illusion. It's nonsense. It's not logic at all. You see here, sometimes we are asking for things that's not logic. You understand that it's desert. You understand that it's no way. There is no means that he will give you this. But then you ask for it. And you blame God. And everything wrong is happening into your life. You don't see the grace of God that is overshadowing you, but you blame him that one little thing that is not necessary in your life, that you're blaming him that you're not getting. Because you only see something different. And this is exactly what happened when Adam and Eve, every day they used to see that tree, every day, and they never wanted it. They never had the desire for it. But as soon as the serpent started to put in their mind something, you will not die, but you will be like him. Now, the tree took a different image. Now the tree is beautiful. Now the tree is delicious to eat. Now the tree is profitable. It will make me wiser. So I wanted it. Before, I never thought of it. And now I think of it. Now, the people of Israel had the same story again. The manna is very dry. I don't want to eat it anymore. But how can you get that meat? Is it logic to ask for it in such condition, in such circumstances? No, it's not logic, but I blame God. I know it's not right, but I blame him. I know it's totally inconvenience, but I will blame him because he is the one who is to be blamed. And this is an attitude of the people of God that they lose it. They lose it. It's false illusions. When Jonah, after he was taken by the whale, and in there he started to pray, and when he started to pray, he put one sentence at the end of his prayers, and those who believe in false illusions, they drop their grace. They leave it. And this is exactly what is happening with us. When we are not understanding the gift of God for us, and we don't see it, we don't thank God for it, then we start to see illusions. The illusion that is still happening till now. And now, what did God do in this situation? He told Moses, okay, good, go. Tell them, I will feed you meat in the wilderness. And Moses was so much astonished. How could you? How come? And he said, not 1 week, not 2 weeks, not 3 weeks, but 1 month I will give you meat to eat till the smell of the meat will come out of your nose. Is it a gift or a punishment? I don't know. Then what happened? That the quails from the sea, there was a wind, and it brought them to the desert where they were, and they started to slaughter and eat. But as a consequences of every illusion, as a consequences of every illusion that we have in our life, we have to face those kind of consequences. For them, it was the protection that God protected them all their journey against serpents. It's taken over. Now it's lifted up. Now all the serpents start to attack the people there. Lots of people died. And it's cry, grieve in everywhere. And here the people start to come back to God and say, help. And then what is the solution that God wanted to put for the people in such a situation? He could have done a miracle, kill all the snakes. Do you think that God wanted to kill all the snakes? No, definitely no. God didn't want to kill all the snakes. It will stay in the Word. It will stay in the Word. But He wanted you to change. That's why the solution that God gave to Moses was very simple. The solution was, make a copper serpent and lift it up, and every person would be attacked by a snake. Change your mind. Look at the copper serpent as a symbol of looking at God Himself. Look back to me. I'm your healer. I'm your savior. I'm your provider. I'm your life. And then people were healed. It's a lesson for all of us. The illusion that is happening in the world will stay always. It's the illusion. We are all now in this period of life, in the age. We are in the era of the air. And in the era of the air, it's the big illusions that could happen for us. You know why? Because everything is in the air. We travel in the air, we talk in the air, we have transactions in the air, we make business in the air, we talk in the air, everything is in the air. But the characters of the era of the air has certain characters. If we understand it, we will know how to deal with it. It's very surface-oriented. Everything has to be in the surface. It's very fast spread. Do you root all the principles, the old roots. And it's derooting the principles, the values of humanity. And that's an important thing that we see. Sometimes we miss it. And then it's the same old story. When Nicodemus met with Jesus, Nicodemus told Jesus that we know that you are a teacher coming from God. And Jesus started to tell Nicodemus, please come. I'll teach you something beautiful. I want to lift you up. Imagine Jesus wanted to take Nicodemus and lifting him up, teaching him about the second birth, living in the Spirit, the value of you are a human being, you are a person from heaven. You will be born again from the Spirit. And imagine Nicodemus would tell Jesus what? What? Do you think that an old man could come back to his mother's womb and be born again? Yes. This is the trick that sometimes we try. We think of ourselves something completely different than our nature, because we think of ourselves as only tangible persons, as only body, as only physical, as only psyche. But you're not. Your nature is so much beautiful. It's much more. You are a human being. And you know what a human being is? It's not only the dust. It's the Spirit of God. It's the breath of God in you. So the value of being the breath of God is something much more than you imagine. Don't put yourself as dust. And then you would understand why Jesus is talking to Nicodemus like this. And then Jesus told him, look, as Moses lifted up the copper serpent in the wilderness, he wanted to remind him with the story. As Moses lifted up the copper serpent in the wilderness, so that also the Son of Man will be lifted up. So every person who believed in him will have eternal life. And here is the point, that are you really believe in Christ, the Christ that helps you, that Christ that is able to see you, or the Christ that you have only acquaintance with, or the Christ that sometimes you come to church and you have some rituals and then go, and without feelings. The presence of God in you is something so important. And that's why I feel like one illusion that we may fall in, we think of ourselves earthly. We think of ourselves as a only community. But you're not. You're much more. You are the breath of God in there. You're a human being. You're much more. You're much more than the meta-human. You're much more. And that's a very important thing. We are going into the metaverse and changing the metaverse into what will happen to us. You are much more than all this. Then you need to see yourself, first of all, to make it easier for us, because this is a very big, long topic. To make it easier for us, we create our own personal shadows. And then we run after our shadow. Or we dance with our shadows. Try it at home, maybe. You get a lamp and create a shadow, and just try to dance with your shadow. You will find an echo of your own personal life. This is what happened. Why we create a shadow, first of all? Anything that's not transparent, it will create a shadow. But shadows cannot come to you. The only way to make the shadow disappear, one thing, one way, it is center yourself with the source of light. That's all. And the moment that you start to walk toward the center of light, your shadow will become smaller and smaller, and suddenly it ends. And that means that if you focus on Christ himself, that will make it much easier for you to be enlightened, to have the mindset of your own personal way of living, to be enlightened. And as St. Paul is talking about this enlightenment, he said that the enlightenment that we wanted is the enlightenment of the inner person, is the mind. Your inner eyes are enlightened. And this inner eyes, when it's enlightened, it will give you three main things that you will live with, and it will help you in life. The first thing it will give you to see your precious call. You have been called. You have been called for good things. You have been called to good deeds. You've been called to inherit the kingdom of God. You've been called to dignity. You've been called to glory. You have been called to be the image of God. You've been called to imitate Christ. Remember that calling. You're called to do that. And it's a glory. It's something that you make you feel, oh, what a greatness that I have. I feel something great. And then the second thing it will enlighten you with, you will know how precious and glorious is the inheritance of the kingdom of God. When you feel like you will earn something great, you work hard for it, isn't it? Everybody's. When you have a treasure, or when you have an inheritance, when you have whatever kind of gain you want to gain, you work very hard. But because we don't see the reality, that we know the inheritance that is waiting for us, is it waiting for us? I know it's waiting, but still, God has given us the promise of it. But God also has given us now. When Paul talked about that in what God has prepared for his beloved ones, no eyes has seen, no ears has heard, not even an imagination of a human being. But he said, very one little word after, God has declared it to us in the Spirit. It's now. If you don't see now the greatness of God in you, you will not see it afterward. It's there in your heart. And the third thing, you see the power of God that's working in you. The power of God. And imagine God wanted to empower you with might in your inner person. And the Holy Spirit dwells in you. And Christ dwells in you. Then you would understand this enlightenment. You would understand. I would understand what? The love of Christ that exceeds all limit. And then as a consequences of this, what will happen to a human being? You will be filled with the fullness of God. Can you imagine this? You will be filled with the fullness of God, who's able to do much more than we ask for or imagine. He will be able to do through you much more than you ask for or imagine. This is the beauty of the life that you have. In the old days, when God gave commandments to the people of Israel, he told them, if you listen to the commandment of God, then as a consequences of that, you will be blessed. But when he stated the blessings that God gave to the human beings who listened to him and who followed the commandments, simply he gave them the blessings that they can understand, they can touch. It's all based on the earthly well-being. You will be blessed in your coming in and coming out. Your bread basket will be blessed. You will be prosperous. You will be the head and not the tail. You will be able to lend and you are not going to borrow from anyone. You'll be prosperous. But imagine when Christ came and he gave us a beautiful gift, the most precious one, it's himself. And he gave us a new way of thinking, and the blessing has changed. It's not anymore that I'm searching for the prosperity of the bread basket. Now, in Ephesians 1, he's talking about that God wanted to bless us with all the blessing of the heavenly gifts. In what? That you are called to inherit the kingdom of God. You have been called to be the son and the daughter of God. The Holy Spirit will dwell in you. Then you will be forgiven. You will be free. You will be the body of Christ. And all those great gifts that God has given us in Christ. And now, I may use also, according to the era of the air, every person here is, I think they are all using this device that is called the cell phone or mobile phone. Everybody. Imagine if I would have that phone and I don't have network. What would happen to that one? I just has experienced this morning, and yesterday I just came, and then I had this phone with me, and then there is no network with Australia. I had it in the one of Egypt, so I couldn't use it. So it became like a piece of metal. I throw it. It's not used. I can't use it. And as soon as Abuna gave me a SIM card to put it in, then I connect with this. And then the whole world opened for me. And now, forget about this cell phone. What about you? It's the same. If you are connected to the Spirit of God, you have everything. And if you disconnect yourself with the Spirit of God, you're not in the network. You're not in the family of God. You're not the temple of the Spirit anymore. Maybe you will look after the illusions that you may see that is good for me. Like Adam and Eve looked at the tree. It's good for me. It will make me wiser. It's delicious. And this is the illusion that we live in. But wait a minute. You have much more than that. Forget it and focus. Look at Jesus, the founder and the finisher of our faith. Because of the joy that set before him, he endured the cross, despised shame. It's the same for you. If you only focus on him, you will see in Christ you have everything. You have everything. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. There's no condemnation. Because when God will see you in Christ, because your life is hidden in Christ, then he will see his face in you. Then there is no condemnation. Because who is condemning? Who is the judge? It's Christ himself. And when he sees his face in you, you are in him. He is carrying you in and taking you to the most holy places, to the most glorious and precious thing. You will not need anything, not on this earth and not in the coming age. And now it's your decision. Would you follow illusions of your own mindset, or would you come back to yourself and change your mind and look at the copper serpent, or you look at him, he was hanged on a cross, and in him you see something more, of you. Because he came and he became human like me and you. So we become like him. So do you want to become like him? Then believe it. It will be yours because you are there. It's a gift of God, not because you've done something great. It's a gift of God for you if you only believe in it. God bless you. Glory be to God. Amen.